Welcome to Pau in the south of France for the 2021 ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup Final. It's the final of the 4-race series with double points up for grabs. 200 athletes from over 30 nations have made the journey here. And today we will crown the canoe women and the canoe men's 2021 World Cup champions. But it's semi-finals time, and getting into the final to optimize those points is the mission this morning. Well, we've had some intense competition yesterday. We saw Jessica Fox continue her run in the women's kayak category, and Vit Prindis back-to-back wins for the Czech Republic in the men's kayak category. But today, it's the canoe competition. Myself, Andy Maddock, and alongside me, Luca Jones of the New Zealand team, Olympic medalist, World Championship medalist, and yesterday on the podium in the overall World Cup standings. Welcome, Luca.
Thanks, Andy. Great to be here.
So, of course, the semi-final course is a new course compared to the heats. 24 gates, 6 red and white upstream gates, the rest downstream. And, well, Luca, what do you think of the course? How technically demanding is it here?
Yeah, I mean, the water itself is quite difficult, and then you add in a tricky gate sequence, and, yeah, I'd say it's going to be a challenging race today.
So semi-finals up very shortly. Of course, you can follow all the action live on Planet Canoe today. The finals will start underway at 11:30 Central European time. And we, of course, have the extreme slalom later on, which, Luca, you'll be competing in at 4:30 Central European time.
Yes, that's also going to be very exciting to see some epic battles out there.
So we have 30 competitors, the fastest for 30 competitors from the heats on Friday. Now racing it out for just 10 places in the final. And they race in reverse order from that performance. So a tight race we can anticipate as we try and squeeze 30 boats into that 10-boat final. Double points up for grabs, 120 points for a World Cup win, rather than the 60 that we have had up till now. And we're underway with racing, and it is Laura Pelica-Chica of Andorra getting us underway. So, Luca, just talk us through this top part of the course.
Yeah, so the top part of the course isn't too difficult, but it gets gradually more difficult as the paddlers progress down the course. This move 5 to 6 is definitely, you want to be able to get onto that wave and carry the speed. And I think Laura's just losing a little bit of time there. She's picked up a couple of touches, so that's going to be really costly. But it's slalom, and for her, she just needs to keep her composure and concentrate on what she needs to do next to get the rest of the course well.
Well, we watched Laura coming down into the upstream 11 and then upstream 12. And these athletes are kneeling in the boat. This is the canoe event, so they're kneeling in the boat with a single-bladed paddle. They're strapped in to give them maximum contact and maximum maneuverability of the boat. Luca, I know your background mainly is in kayak, but you've done a lot of canoe, including at the Tokyo Games this year. How different is it between the canoe and the kayak?
It's really different, and I kind of compare it to doing skiing and snowboarding. You know, the water is the same, the course is the same for the athletes, but yeah, your craft is completely different, and C1 is challenging. You don't have that extra blade to get out of trouble sometimes, so you have to be really accurate. You have to stay on top of the water and keep the boat moving, because, you know, in K1 you've got that safety of just being able to paddle on both sides, but in C1 you've just got that one blade. And it's really interesting in C1 as well, especially in the women. You know, we see a lot of switching on both sides, and any given gate sequence, there are many ways of doing it. So it's a very tactical class.
Well, this is a respectable run from Laura Pelica-Chica of Andorra as she comes towards the finish. Has picked up 3 touches, 6 seconds in penalties, and stops the clock 1:36.24. So, of course, as we work through, we'll work out whether that is good enough for a place in the final. And already on course now for New Zealand, it is Hannah Thomas.
Great to see my young teammate out there competing. She does both K1 and C1, so she's had experience on the course yesterday racing the K1 semi-final. And she'll be putting those learnings into action out here.
Yeah, already nearly 5 seconds up on the first competitor, so a good top section from Hannah, but this is where we have seen the main part of the technical challenges in the middle and the bottom part of the course.
Yeah, absolutely, and she did a good job of getting under gate 10, which is what you need to do to get high into 11, but actually maybe overdid it a little bit and just came in a tad too high.
So, Luca, you mentioned just then the fact that if you're doing both, the kayak and the canoe, then you've effectively had a couple of extra practice runs. Is that helpful, and that you've kind of felt the course in a different craft?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to get a feeling of it in K1 before racing C1, because some things look quite difficult from the bank, but then once you're out there, they're a little bit easier, or vice versa. But also you do need to break it down and think about it with your C1 head on, because some moves that in kayak you do completely differently in C1.
Well, Hannah Thomas still had an advantage on the second split, but another penalty at the bottom, and maybe just slipping away a little bit, but I suspect she will stop the clock ahead of Laura Pellica-Chica, our early race leader. 1:31.04 into first place for Hannah Thomas of New Zealand. And well, it's interesting, the penalties just mounting up, and I think that'll be significant to make the final today.
Yeah, I think the time losses out there were a bit too much for Hannah, and we'll see those times drop as the field progresses.
So on course now, 23-year-old Louise Betteridge of Canada. 36th in Prague at the first World Cup of the season, then 40th in Markkleeberg in Germany, the second World Cup of the season. Didn't compete in Laseu in Spain last weekend, and now here in Pau for the World Cup final. So already a bit of a deficit on the top part of the course, and not showing quite the same fluidity that we saw from Hannah Thomas on the top.
Yeah, she is losing a lot of time in this top section, and as we've seen, those penalties are really costly. It's difficult to make up 2 seconds on the course. So when you incur a 2-second penalty by touching a gate, that's just so costly. I know Lois had a really tough battle with her teammate Hayley Daniels for the Olympic spot in Tokyo, and I think afterwards she's gone back to Canada just to have a break and refresh, and it's great to see her back here for this last World Cup and the World Championships.
Yeah, we've got those World Championships in, well, less than 2 weeks' time now. Effectively, most of the athletes will leave here in Pau, in the foothills of the Pyrenees, and head towards Bratislava, ready for that the final run into the competition in, well, it's about 10 days' time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up really fast, actually. It's been a very busy end to the season.
So how will you prepare for that competition? Will you take a couple of days out before you really focus in on the Worlds?
Yeah, I guess my days off will just be travel days. So Monday, Tuesday, we'll make our way from Pau to Bratislava, which is quite a distance. And yeah, then just get into training, being familiar with the course again. Bratislava is very big water. There's a lot of moves to learn, so we'll be getting into that. Well,
Louise Betteridge of Canada stops the clock, 1:42.69 into third place, and again penalties proving significant there. But here's a young paddler who may just, if she can find the groove, may just set a marker that could be competitive for a place in the final. It is Eva Alina Hocevar of Slovenia. Already has an advantage on the top section, but so important to build a rhythm and work in harmony with the white water.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because you've had a good top section, it doesn't always mean that you have a good bottom section. So it's about being consistent across the whole run, trying to execute your plan out there, but also be open to reacting if things aren't quite going your way. But she looks like she's off to a fantastic start.
Yeah, it is. It's good. She looks like she's really working in harmony with the white water. And particularly as you get into the course, you get a little bit more fatigued. It's so important not to be fighting, but to be working. But just a little bit low on the run into the upstream gate 16. Still, though, has an advantage of nearly 5 seconds over Hannah Thomas of New Zealand.
Yeah, she's had to use a little bit of extra energy up there, which is not what she wanted, but she looks composed and she looks online for this quite critical move.
Superbly done, 18 to 19. And, well, you can see how she was using the switching to maximum effect. That was the switching that you talked about. There we see it again from 21 to 22 on this tricky offset, and she's got to go around the back.
Yeah, and this section of the course, it is a very tight offset. You have to be very accurate, and yeah, she's just unfortunately lost that accuracy and has made those mistakes. At this point in the course, your arms are so tired, they're full of lactic acid, and yeah, she'll be disappointed with the end of that run.
So she's going to go into second place. Eva Alina Hocevar of Slovenia, but you can just see the power of the white water at the bottom, and you can see the disappointment there for Eva Alina. She knows that that's probably not going to make the final today. So next up for Germany, it is Nelly Bayn, 15th last weekend. And, well, the German team using this, well, this event and the event last weekend as a little bit of a development opportunity, and as well as a selection opportunity ahead of those World Championships. So the Olympic champion Ricarda Funk, for example, from Germany, not racing. And in this event, the Olympic bronze medalist Andrea Herzog of Germany, resting it up, ready to defend her title in Bratislava in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I saw Ricarda out at the training camp in Bratislava, which was quite soon after the Olympic Games, and she looked really fired up and motivated to try and, you know, do well at the World Championships.
And I should say, Ricarda will be racing in the extreme slalom later on today.
She will, and she'll be a force to be reckoned with, I think. It's her first extreme slalom event, but she's such a strong, powerful paddler that, yeah, it'll be interesting to line up against her.
So you can follow the extreme slalom. Head-to-head racing, 4:30 Central European time here at Planet Canoe. So don't miss that. It was certainly exciting racing last weekend in La Seu. So Nelly Bayn of Germany finishing out her run, but 2 penalties on the bottom section of the course, proving costly. But she is still going to take the race lead. 1:27.97. And Nelly Bayn of Germany goes into our race lead after 5 boats, but of course 25 boats still to go in this women's canoe singles semi-final, and only 10 places in the final. We're live in Pau in the foothills of the French side of the Pyrenees. The sun is shining, the stage is set as we look to crown the World Cup champion of 2021. It's really a 2-horse battle for the title, really, between Jessica Fox of Australia, who already wrapped up the women's kayak title yesterday, and Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic. They're kind of only 6 points apart going into this final race. And then there's a bit of a gap because Mallory Franklin of Great Britain, Andrea Herzog of Germany not racing. But there's a big battle for third, and again, we'll look forward to looking at that. But as we watch Marjorie Delassus of France having all sorts of problems in the upstream gate 11, but you could expect her to be fast.
Yes, I mean, I think she can soak up the time she lost on that mistake, having to perform an Eskimo roller, which is never what you want to do in slalom, but she looks like she's back on track. She knows this course well. I believe she grew up here. She was 4th at the Olympic Games, so yeah, we're looking at a great paddler on course right now.
Well, look at that, nearly 5 seconds up, and that was with that mistake, that roll on gate 11. Now this is the critical move through 18, a little bit deep into 19. She's going to have to work hard, but looking like she's on track. And critically, she is clean so far, although there's a review on gate 14, but no penalty showing at the moment.
Oh, a little mistake coming into gate 23 there, 22, sorry.
So now one more gate between her and the finish line. Marjorie Delassus of France is going to take the race lead. It's going to be close, and stopping the clock, 1:24.79 into first place. And that is still a provisional result. There is still a review going on, but just the one penalty showing on gate 22 at the moment.
Yeah, she'll have a bit of a wait to see whether that'll be good enough for the final, but I'm thinking that, you know, the times out there are going to fall quite rapidly.
Yes, of course, the athletes are racing in reverse order from the heats, so in theory, we will have the faster boats down at the end of this competition. 30 boats going for 10 places in the final as we watch Germany's Elena Sterklin on course. 31-year-old. Well, she's a world finalist in 2018, and she's been on the circuit for some time. This season hasn't been reflective of her potential, really. She was 16th in Markkleeberg, 29th last weekend in Seoul. So can she make the first final of her 2021 World Cup season here?
Yeah, I saw the disappointment on her face last week in La Seoul. It was not the run that she wanted to have, but it looks like she's really on form this weekend and paddling smooth. The top part of the course looked great, actually.
So a little bit low on 16, but keeping the boat running. Now this is the critical section. She had a small advantage as she came through the second split. Has to use this stopper, get the bows up, and run nicely into 19, which she does very well indeed. The German team, of course, will be focusing as well on the World Championships in their home water in Augsburg in Germany next year in July 2022. And that will actually be the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the building of the Augsburg course for the 1972 Olympic Games. But coming into the finish and a new race leader for sure, 119.79. Elena Sterklin of Germany, really solid on the bottom.
Yeah, that was a great run, and you can see on her face she's very happy with that. She can be proud of that performance out there this morning.
Well, on course now, another Tokyo Olympian. For Slovenia, it is Alia Cosalog, 12th at the Olympic Games. Not yet into a final this season in the World Cup standings, but has been very close. 14th, then 31st, and then 11th, just missing out last weekend.
She'll really be trying to make the final at this last World Cup of the season. And she's in touch. How
important is it to have a good result going into the World Championships? Does it give you that little bit of extra confidence that you need?
Yeah, absolutely. It just, you know, gives confirmation that you're on form. It's also nice to have a race that you can refer back to, you know, that all of your processes that you spend a lot of time developing and refining, that they're working and they're paying off. After every race, you know, these athletes will be sitting down with their coaches and their support staff and reviewing the race, looking back through video, and just trying to learn and improve. I think, you know, even someone like Jessica Fox, who is absolutely on form at the moment and winning a lot of races, she'll still be sitting down and reviewing her performances and just looking at where she can do better.
Yeah, absolutely interesting to hear that. And Alia Cosalog of Slovenia, what a recovery there. She, the tail of the boat caught the green water. Looked like she may flush out the back, but she flipped it round, and whilst she may not challenge for the race lead, she's still keeping it tidy and maybe on track for a second place here.
Yeah, she's done a great job of that last offset. I think her heart would have skipped a few beats earlier in the course when her boat was pointing the wrong way in that hole, that critical section.
Well, she stops clock 1:24.04, and she does indeed get second place. Still, Elena Sterklin, our early leader for Germany. Alia Cosalog of Slovenia goes into second. Marjorie Delassus of France in third, as we look at Marta Bertoncelli of Italy on course next. 15th in the Tokyo Olympic Games. Of course, this event made its debut there. And now we watch her on course as she comes through gate 6.
The Italians have a great young team of C1 women, and Marta is one of them.
Yeah, and she's super consistent, isn't she? She's, I think she made 3 consecutive Junior World Championship finals, and she was on the podium on one occasion. So she's a bronze medalist at junior level. Now transitioning into the senior ranks, and well, that experience in Tokyo will have given her great kind of learning as she comes into this Senior World Cup.
Absolutely, and she has such a bright future in the sport. You can see she's a bit down on the split at the top, but she's coming into this critical section where it's so important to be accurate, so important to be online.
You can see just losing a little bit of the river left to river right momentum. Has to fight the boat. No penalties. A little bit of time lost on the clock though. So 3.13. She'd worked hard to close that deficit down, and then she's just given a little bit more away as she comes into this difficult 18-19 move when picked up the penalty on 18.
Yeah, it just looks like she's struggled to find her rhythm out there today. She's had to fight a lot, which is always uses up a bit of extra energy, but you know, she's staying composed. She'll be looking to just make the most of this last offset.
Well, she's certainly looking pretty smooth on this last offset. A few people have struggled, but not such for Marta Bertoncelli of Italy. So coming down to the finish, but it's a little bit too little too late, and into 5th place. Remember, it is only 10 athletes who will go through into the final, and we still have the fastest athletes to come in this competition. But here is an athlete to watch. The current 2nd place in the overall World Cup standings are very much in the mix. Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic. And, well, the critical thing is to make it through into the final.
Yeah, absolutely. She'll know her place in the overall standings, and she'll know that she needs to be in the final to be in a hunt for that top position on the overall World Cup podium.
And talking of podium, she's been on the podium on every World Cup this season. A 3rd, a 2nd, and a 2nd. So that's the caliber, really. Her and Jessica Fox have been super consistent this season, and they still, despite that great record, 3 finals, 3 podiums from 3 races, they're still going head-to-head to work out who's going to be crowned the World Cup champion of 2021.
Yeah, I'm really excited, actually, to watch them go head-to-head out there today. And Teresa looks like she's on a fantastic run. She's looking smooth and composed, and I don't think we've seen the best of her yet. She'll just be trying to put down a solid run to be in that final, to get her ticket to the final. And then I think we'll see her step up a gear.
It's interesting that she's down on the time of Elena Sterklin of Germany, only by a little bit, but this is where she has the opportunity to really extend that advantage and open it up. Her skills she's shown across the season have really shown that she's an emerging talent, and one that will take the fight to the likes of Andrea Herzog of Germany, Jessica Fox, Mallory Franklin. But look, she has found time at the bottom. Look at this. We are looking at the new race leader, and Teresa Fisarova goes into the race lead for the Czech Republic, 119.67, and our first clean run of the day. No, apologies, 2nd clean run of the day. Eva Alina Hocevar did go clean. So, well, I think that will probably be enough for a place in the final. And, well, hopefully anyway, because that'll give us a real stage to set as we see who will be crowned the World Cup champion. But we're straight into our next competitor for Slovakia, Sonia Stanovska, double junior world championship medalist, 7th at the under-23 European Championships in this event this season. She took a silver medal in the K1 event in that event. So versatile across both categories, but already a penalty on the downstream gate 7.
Coached by her father, I believe, and her whole family's involved in the sport in Slovakia. And yeah, she's a great young paddler across both classes.
So nicely in and out of the upstream gate 12. You really see how she carries the boat speed coming in and still has the boat speed on the exit. That's the art of a good slalom run. You've only got so much in the tank, and the more you can get the water to do the work, the more you can use that power, that energy, exactly how you want to. But a touch just picked up a little bit too tight on 16. And that's quite a difficult upstream, isn't it? Because, and it's all gone wrong for Sonia Stanovska of Slovakia. She looked like she was setting up the switch from 18, but couldn't find a T-piece at the top of the paddle, and that will be a 50-second penalty, I presume, on gate 18.
Looks like she's going back for it. She knows that it takes less time to paddle back for the gate than it does to, well, less than 50 seconds, basically, to paddle back for that gate. But she's in a lot of trouble out there on course, and the time is just slipping away.
So it is, she does cancel out the 50-second penalty on 18, but she doesn't get back for 19. And unfortunately, Sonia Stanovska of Slovakia will not progress through into the final. The final, 11:30 Central European time, and you can follow it live here at Planet Canoe. And of course, it's the men's canoe event as well. That'll be coming up, semi-finals after this women's canoe semi-final. And the same, the men's canoe follows the women's canoe final. Next on course for Great Britain, Bethan Farrow, 20-year-old, under-23 world champion this season, under-23 European silver medalist. But penalties early on, she's going to need to get her focus back in as she comes down into the business end of the course.
Yeah, it looks like she's just lost a little bit of time at the top section of the course, which isn't a super difficult section, but, you know, if you're not online, then the time just falls away. But she'll be wanting to put together a good bottom section, and, you know, she could make up that time if all goes well at the bottom of the course.
Well, let's watch her as she takes this move, 14-15, and then this is a tricky move, isn't it? Because you want to be tight into 16, but you can end up too tight.
Yeah, and Beth's done a great job of that, actually. We saw a very fast switch to land on the downstream side, which is a very safe and consistent way of doing that move.
Nicely through 18 to 19. Really, really confident there, but just a little deep on 19. Takes the touch on the back of the buoyancy 8. Of course, a 2-second penalty awarded if you hit any pole with your body, your boat or your paddle. So if you flick up the water and it moves the pole, that's a water splash, that's not penalised. And that's often what you'll see when you see these reviews. It's just the video judges checking that the correct penalty has been applied. Bethan Farrow of Great Britain goes into 5th place.
Yeah, I'm not sure that will be enough. Her run time itself was very fast, but just those penalties proving very costly.
Yeah, so her run time was on a par with our race leader, Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic, but +8, and you leave the door wide open. Next up for the Czech Republic, Eva Rihova on course. Two-time Junior World Championship finalist. Now starting to make her mark at senior level.
From one of the strongest slalom nations in the world. She's a very promising young paddler. She's been on the circuit, on the senior circuit, for quite a while. And yeah, she's a pleasure to watch. She's got a very smooth style.
Well, she's yet to make a final in the World Cup Series so far this year. Of course, we started off in Prague in the Czech Republic, then we went to Germany for Markkleeberg, and then over the mountain here in the Pyrenees in La Seu last weekend in Spain, and now we're finishing here with the World Cup final in Pau in the southern part of France.
It was a stunning job, 15 to 16. I think one of the best we've seen actually on that move.
Looks good, and just 1.27 down. She is taking the fight to her compatriot Teresa Fisarova, who is our race leader at this stage of the competition, but another athlete having to work really hard on 19. You don't want to go deep there, do you?
No, you don't. It's so punishing, and you can see she's only got the one blade, so it took her a little bit longer to get out of there. And maybe she's just panicking a little bit. She's picked up another touch, and that's going to prove quite costly, I think.
Well, let's see. It's going to be outside the race lead time, and another penalty at the end. But they are clocking up 126.8 and into 5th place provisionally for Eva Rihova of the Czech Republic. Still, Teresa Fisarova leading the way for the Czech Republic ahead of Elena Sterklin of Germany, Alia Cosalog of Slovenia, as we get towards the halfway point in this women's canoe semi-final here at the World Cup final in Pau. You're listening to Andy Maddock, and alongside me, Luca Jones, who finished it overall 2nd in the World Cup standings yesterday in the women's kayak category. Olympic and World Championship medalist as well. So we are very much being treated to some really good insights as we go through this competition.
Hopefully I can offer some insider intel on the sport, and this is my friend Viktoria Us on the course, phenomenal athlete from the Ukraine. She's coached by her father, and in Tokyo I was having a conversation with her about where she trains back in the Ukraine, and she said she doesn't have any white water to train on where she lives. She has to drive 2 hours to paddle on any moving water. So, you know, to get to this level in the sport without having a home white water course and having to travel so much, it's so impressive. And Vicky's such a strong paddler in K1 and C1. She was in the K1 final yesterday, and she looks like she's on a really good run in C1 this morning.
Yeah, she's up on the split on our race leader. So, well, Viktoria Us of Ukraine, yeah, 7th at the Olympic Games, so had a good performance there, made it through into the Olympic final. Now, nicely through 18 to 19. So important to hold the entry pole. She does that, and this is surely going to challenge that race lead. 1:19.67 is the time to beat. And it won't be long before we start to confirm who our finalists are. And Viktoria just looks like she's found the groove, doesn't she?
Yeah, she looks in control. She looks like she's putting her boat where she wants it to go. Quite crucially, she's clean, and we're looking at a great time on course.
Wow, what a run there from Viktoria Us of Ukraine. 2 finals this weekend and into the race lead. Surely that's going to be enough for a final.
Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely.
So Viktoria Us leads ahead of Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic and then Elena Sterklin of Germany. That's our top 3 as we are at the halfway point in this women's canoe semi-final here in Po. We're live at Planet Canoe, but we of course still have the fastest 15 from the heats to go.
We do. We've got some very strong names coming up. We've got Anna Satella, who's proficient across both K1 and C1 and will be competing in extreme slalom this afternoon. So she's had an extremely busy weekend. It's quite tiring, even just competing in 2 classes, so competing in 3. She'll have to, you know, have everything right, have her recovery, have her nutrition on point. Same with Jessica Fox, same with Noemie. Yeah, a lot of athletes are competing in 3 classes.
So we are at that halfway point in this women's canoe semi-final. Viktoria Us of Ukraine is our race leader, and surely that'll be enough. 1:17.88. And next up to start for Germany will be Elena Apel.
Another athlete that is good at across both classes. Actually, before yesterday, she was sitting second in the overall World Cup standings in K1.
She was, and it shows just how important it is to make it through into the final in this double points race, because she finished 14th in yesterday's women's kayak semi-final, and that really dropped her. She plummeted in the overall standings and out of the top 3.
Yeah, those double points, they really count for a lot.
So she's 9th in the standings in the overall World Cup in the women's canoe event, this event, as she now comes down the middle part of the course into the upstream gate 8. And she certainly looks like she's got the pace, but that penalty on the downstream gate 2 has just taken the edge off this run so far.
Yeah, she'll be looking to have a good bottom section on this course. She's lost quite a bit of time at the top, so she'll be trying to stay composed. And yeah, I don't know if she knows what time has been set at the moment, but I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people do out on course. You've just got to race your own race and try and put down your best run.
It's interesting you say that, isn't it? When you get into a final, particularly when you've got the spacing between you, how do you kind of try and zone out to make sure you're not influenced by what other people are getting up to in the results?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's really difficult not to hear of the commentary of their speakers up in the start pool, and they're announcing the times that are being put down. You kind of just have to, try and zone out to them almost, because, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what times are being put down.
It's all about you just delivering your plan to the best of your ability, and then you hope that will put you in the mix for a place on the podium.
Sometimes if Jessica Fox goes down before you and puts down a stunning time, you do panic a little bit.
Well, Elena Apel has gone into second place, so she put the a little bit of an untidy top part of the course behind her and closed it down at the bottom and into second place. So Viktoria Us leads for Ukraine, Elena Apel of Germany in second, Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic, and now on course, well, it is Ana Satila of Brazil, who you were mentioning just a few moments ago, Luca. She'll have a busy schedule and always an exciting paddler to watch.
Yeah, she's so dynamic and so strong and technically really good, and I always love watching Anna out on course.
And she won the first ever World Championship medal for Brazil here in Pau. So that was back in 2017 when this course hosted the World Championships.
Yeah, she was on the circuit very young. I remember Anna when she was 15 or 16 out there, and yeah, such a bright paddler.
Yeah, because she's only 25 years old, but she's been to 3 Olympic Games.
Yeah, she was very young when she went to the London Olympics. Has really put the sport on the map, along with Pepe for Brazil.
So nicely done, really confident attack into 16. Still in touch, 1.5 seconds down on the split. But this is where she can use that power, that physical finesse to get her through this technical section. And she does that nicely into 18. Sorry, 18, 19. Now she's got to keep it clean. And this is probably a little bit of her nemesis, isn't it, is penalties.
Yes, absolutely.
And
as we can see out there, and she knows that she's losing time, and we can see that she's using her fitness on the bottom of the course to really try and power to the finish line.
Well, it's a good run for Ana Satila. It's not going to take the race lead, and it goes into 4th place.
Yeah, I think she'll have a little bit of a wait to see if that is good enough for the final, but I'm assuming she'll warm down and just prepare as if she is in the final.
So next on course, we're watching Evy Leibfarth of the United States of America. 3rd at the Junior World Championships this year. And of course, another athlete who went to the Games in Tokyo, finished 18th in the Tokyo Games.
Yeah, such a talented young paddler. I remember Evie when she first came onto the World Cup circuit a couple of years ago, and she was making finals, and we were all, yeah, so excited to see such a young talent on this circuit and in our sport.
It's interesting whether she's going through that kind of life cycle of a young athlete where when you first come in, there's no expectation on you and can kind of tend to exceed expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. You come in and you're young and you're just excited to be there and to be able to race.
Because her consistency has actually declined a little bit across the season since then. But you could probably argue that her performances are actually still improving. It's just that she's probably feeling a little bit more pressure and an expectation, and she'll bed that down and become more consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't underestimate that pressure and that expectation. And whilst it's good to be physically and technically good at the sport, you know, mentally it's so important to just, you know, be in those situations where you feel pressure and you have to deal with it and try and perform when it counts.
Well, fully committed, 18 to 19, wasn't she? She was right on the back of the hole, right at the stretch of the stroke, but it worked absolutely for Evy. But looks like a penalty there on 22, and whoa, she's lost the bows as well. So it will be a 50-second penalty for Evy Leibfarth of the United States on downstream gate 22. And from being in contention to a final, it's going to be outside on this occasion. 16th place for the young athlete from America. But, well, we'll see her in action in the extreme slalom and, of course, at the World Championships. So,
yeah, we just saw Evie panic a little bit in one of those last gates, and instead of, you know, going through it, she ended up exiting out before actually going through the gate.
12 boats still to go in this women's canoe semi-final here. We're live in Pau in France for the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup final. And on course, Noemie Fox of Australia. So the younger sister of Jessica Fox now on course. A bronze medalist at the World Championships at under 23 level. And she really is looking very fluid as she comes into the upstream 11.
She is. She's such a smooth paddler to watch, so well connected, and yeah.
in and out of the upstream 12. She's doing absolutely what's required for a place in the final. It is all about just staying composed, not taking too many risks, and just running the boat nicely.
She's using the water really well. She knows where she needs to be, and she's paddling really confidently. And that was a really nice run into gate 16.
1.3 down on the split. Perfectly positioned for a place in the final. She made the final last weekend. Can she do it again here in Pau? This is the critical move. Switches the blades so she can work across. She's going to be a fraction low into the upstream 19, but crucially, she's still clean.
Yeah, if she can stay clean and she can do a good job of this bottom offset, I think we'll see a good time on the board and she can be confident of making the final. But as we've seen, this last offset is not easy.
Well, that was a similar move to Evy Leibfarth of the United States there, late into 22, takes the touch, but importantly, it's only a 2-second penalty for Noemie Fox of Australia. But there are reviews underway on gate 5 and 6. No penalties showing at the moment, but there is a video review underway. And 8th place for Noemie Fox of Australia, and that is a provisional result because there is a review going on. If you're not sure what the review is, basically the video judges are looking at the gates to determine if the correct penalties have been applied. There's multiple angles to look at on the video, and it's just a way of making sure that the correct and fair process has been followed. As we look at Monika Skocova of Slovakia on course now, 9th at the Tokyo Games and under-23 European champion of 2018. Made her first final of the World Cup season last weekend in Lascano.
And she's putting down a very tidy top section out there. Looks very in control and composed, and often, you know, those paddlers out there who are making it look effortless, they're the ones that are going fast. They're not having to fight the water, they're using the water and really not wasting any energy.
And we talked about consistency a few times. Luka, you had 4 finals from 4 World Cups. How do you do it? Does it just come and you can't force it, or is there a specific technique to do that?
Yeah, I find if you're really looking to make the final and you're so focused on that, often you make mistakes because you just put that added pressure on yourself. But for me, I've just found a good way of paddling in the semi-finals that's consistent. And that's put me in every final this season. So I'm really happy with that. Yeah, before this year, I'd had trouble making the semi-finals. So it's really nice to find a good way of paddling. And I think patience is key in just, you know, learning from each race and trying to find that good way of paddling.
Well, this is a good run from Monika Skocova of Slovakia. A late penalty on gate 21, but so far looking in contention for a place, certainly in the mix for a final, to join the final she made last weekend. Stops the clock, 120.90 into 4th place. So it is Viktoria Us leading for the Ukraine, Elena Apel of Germany in 2nd, Teresa Fisarova for the Czech Republic in 3rd, and we're into the final 10 boats, so we will start to confirm our finalists for the World Cup final here, and that will get underway at 11:30 Central European time. So on course now, Clara Olathabul of Spain, 12th, 5th and 9th her season across the World Cup so far, so 2 out of 3 finals, pretty consistent.
Yeah, Clara is a very promising young paddler from Spain. She lives not far from Pau, so I think she's spent a lot of time here and she'll feel very comfortable on this water.
Again, up on the split, not by much, but the job here is just to make it through into the final. And then the athletes will work with the coaches, as you were saying a few minutes ago, Luka, that work with the coaches to look at where they can find time, particularly look at people's runs who are quick on certain sections.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, the coaches, the performance analysis will do splits, see who's the fastest on each section, and then you'll go back and review and see, you know, could I change anything to be faster on that section? Should I change anything from my plan on the first run?
Well, nearly a second up now. Clara Olathabul of Spain is on the charge, a little bit untidy on 18 to 19 as she goes low. So the advantage is being eaten away, as well as with that penalty on gate 19. Suddenly, it is a little bit more of a challenge now to come back and make the final. So important to keep it clean on these last few gates.
She's done a great job of gate 22. We've seen a lot of paddlers make mistakes there and incur penalties, but she's done a fantastic job of that.
Well, it's still going to be competitive. But we'll have to wait and see how long it is till she finds out she's in the final. 7th place, and Clara Olathabul, she went through gate 15 as the virtual race leader, and just that one mistake and into 7th place, and she'll have to wait and see. But that's good news for Viktoria Us of Ukraine, who is our first qualifier into the final.
Fantastic run from Viktoria Us.
So we're watching now Elena McCosey of Italy, 18 years of age. She was 12th last weekend in the World Cup 3 in La Seu in Spain. So just outside the final. A penalty early on, but again, she looks like she's enjoying the water and working in harmony with the white water here.
Yeah, she looks like she's online. She's having to fight a little bit in gate 11. She was a tad low, but you know, it's all to play for in the bottom section, and she knows that.
Well, she's certainly throwing the boat around and attacking this course. We'll get an interesting update as she comes down through the second split, and 3.9 seconds, sorry, 5.13, so it has extended a little bit.
Yeah, I think I can just see a little bit of time slipping away. She's been overturning in a few sections. You really want the tail to be following the bow of the boat. You don't want to have to correct anything when you're paddling forwards, but she's done a great job of that critical move.
Yeah, you were saying that gate 19, it can vary in height because of the water surging backwards and forwards. How do you spot that when you're coming in that hole just after 18?
Yeah, as you're flicking the bow up and trying to drive into the eddy, you just have to see what the water's doing. If the pole's low in the upstream, you have to go around it.
Well, Elena McCosey of Italy stops the clock, 125.54 in 10th place. And, well, that's a competitive time, 121.54. But once again, it is penalties that make the difference. And that means that Elena Apel will be our second finalist for Germany. Well done, Elena. She joins Viktoria Us, our currently race leader for Ukraine, in the final. As we watch Monica Villarubla of Andorra on course now. Another athlete from the Tokyo Games. She finished 11th in Tokyo. Monica was 5th last weekend in Seoul. Her first final of the season. And, well, what a time to do it as you come into the second part of the season.
Yeah, watching Monica on the water and training, she's such a beautiful, dynamic paddler to watch, and she's got such a nice technical style.
Well, she is up on the first split, but subsequently she has taken a penalty. But that has pretty much cancelled it out, so she's still in the mix for a race lead and a place in the final. And look at that, 1.6 now. She has maintained an advantage despite picking up a penalty. So as you say, she is a very exciting paddler to watch, and when she's working in harmony with the white water, she really has a good feel.
She does, and unfortunately she's picked up a 50-second penalty. It can be cruel out there. A 50-second penalty can be a matter of centimetres, and we can see perhaps she didn't get her head entirely in that gate.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? You don't want to give away any more time than necessary on that move, but yeah, on this occasion, it's not going to be. Monica Villarubla of Andorra will cross the line outside of the final in 20th place. So bad news for Andorra, but it does mean that Czech Republic's Teresa Fisarova, who is second in the overall World Cup standings, will be in the final. And, well, that will be a battle, I'm sure, as we see who will be crowned the World Cup Series champion of 2021. Next up, for France, it is Lucie Priou, yet to make a final this season, which is quite a surprise for the French athlete. 29th, 12th, then 16th so far across the first 3 World Cups of the season.
Yeah, she's obviously struggled to find her groove this season, which is a surprise because she is a very talented and strong paddler out there on the water, and she'll be hoping that if she makes one final in the season, it's this one in her home course.
Well, 3.32 down on the first split. So essentially it is now Monika Skocova of Slovakia lying in 4th place. waiting to see if she will be confirmed into the final. She will be confirmed unless Lucy Priaulx goes in front of her. So it was a great atmosphere yesterday, as we have quite a big French crowd here in Pau cheering on the athletes, and you can hear the atmosphere starting to develop, and I'm sure if she makes the final, the noise will be intense.
Yeah, it's so nice to have the French crowds on the riverbank just cheering us athletes on, and you can definitely tell when the French athletes are on course that the volume goes up quite a lot, and I think they'll feel that support from their home country.
Well, Lucy has trimmed the deficit now 2.55, and still, importantly, no additional penalties as she comes down through the last gate. Gate 24, just has to make sure she doesn't take a late touch. Crosses the line, 122.1, and into 7th place. So she's in the mix for a place in the final, but that's going to be on the borderline, either just in or unfortunately just outside. But Monika Skočová of Slovakia joins Teresa Fisarova, Elena Apel and Viktoria Us in the final, as we now watch Miranda Lascano of Spain.
Yeah, some of these athletes are going to have a bit of a nervous wait, seeing if they have their ticket to the final.
Well, it's a great top section from Miranda Lascano, 1.78 the advantage. Of course, Miranda won the European Championship at senior level this season in Ivrea in Italy. What a start to the season that was for her. Then was in the final last weekend, 6th in Laseo on her home water. But that the only final so far of the World Cup season.
Yeah, Spain has some very strong C1 women paddlers with Nuria Villarubla, Clara Olathabul.
So the advantage is maintained, 1.75 the advantage as she comes out of the upstream. Gate 16, now the business end of the course, coming towards gate 18. Switching the blade, and very nicely done as she comes into the upstream 19. Pin high, tight in and out, and surely this is going to challenge the race lead held by Viktoria Us of Ukraine.
Absolutely, she made light work of that very difficult gate sequence, and we've seen a little bit of a mistake, but I think she can soak that up. I think she's fast enough that she can take that touch and still make it into the final. She's still got a good rhythm, she's still got some energy in the tank. She crosses the line just outside into 3rd place, but importantly into the final. Well done, Miranda. We'll see you in the final later on. Viktoria Us leads for Ukraine ahead of Elena Apel of Germany, and Miranda Lascano goes into 3rd place. As next we watch 16-year-old, and yes, I did say it, 16-year-old Susanna Pancova of Slovakia on course. And the way she paddles, you wouldn't think that she was 16 years old. She's paddling with a lot of experience and a lot of confidence out there on course. She was 18th in Seoul last weekend, her first World Cup of the 2021 season. Yeah, we're looking at a very exciting paddler for the future of our sport. Look at that, she has the advantage. She is up on the top section, 0.43. Rewarded for some good work on the top. Now comes into the double upstream 11 and 12, and she's really nicely tight on 11. She comes from a very experienced C1 nation, Slovakia. So many strong paddlers coming from Slovakia, multiple Olympic champions, world champions. And of course, Michal Martikan for Slovakia won the Olympic title at the age of 17 in the same year that he didn't win the Junior World Championships. I wonder which title he'd rather have. Wonder if he's still kicking himself that he didn't win that Junior World title. So 0.36, she still holds the advantage. Susanna Pancova of Slovakia is absolutely delivering just under this pressure here to get a place in the final. 4 more gates to go, and unfortunately a touch on 21. She's got to keep it clean, she's got to keep it flowing, and she can still make it into the final. Nicely through 23. 1 more gate to go. 117.88, that's the time to beat. She's going to be just outside that, but
into 5th place and into the final.
What an incredible run from such a young paddler.
So Susanna Pancova provisionally into the final. There is an asterisk by her name, so just have to wait and see. But it is now on course. Angela Hug of France on course.
Very smooth paddler, and also someone who knows this water very well. She will have trained here a lot. She's going to try and use that experience to put down a good run in the semi-final today.
So as you can hear in the background, the noise just elevating, and particularly once the athletes get under the bridge and into gate 15-16 area, that's when the French crowd suddenly become alive. 2.81, a deficit on the top, mainly because of a penalty on gate 5. So a bit of work to do and a bit sticky on 11. That's the danger. Good example, isn't it, there of she was tight into 11, but she had no space to move her paddle, so she wasn't able to really deliver the exit, hold the power, and just a little bit squeezed out by the pole.
Yeah, it just shows how accurate you need to be. You don't want to have too much space, but you definitely don't want to come in too tight either, because that can often be more costly. Yeah, canoe slalom is a very difficult sport. You want to be close to those poles, obviously not touching those poles, obviously not missing them.
Well, the French crowd are starting to wake up here in Pau. The sun is shining, and it's really set up to be a great day here. And this is still a competitive run that could challenge for a final. 2 seconds down on the second split. And as long as she can keep it clean in the last few gates, which I fear there might have been a touch on 23, we'll have to wait and see. Angela Hug of France is paddling for place in the final, provisionally into 5th place, and there is a review on the downstream gate 23. If she stays in 5th, she will qualify through into the final. So next on course, Jessica Fox of Australia, the Olympic champion of the 2021 Games, and of course the leader in the World Cup standings. Already crowned World Cup champion in the kayak and took gold yesterday in that event. Can she make it another double gold like she did last weekend?
Yeah, she's seemingly unbeatable at the moment. She's found that way of that winning way of paddling, and is just such a amazing paddler to watch.
Well, I read yesterday that yesterday's World Cup win was her 35th World Cup win across kayak and canoe, and 26 of those have been in the canoe event.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
So 2.1, the advantage on the top. Again, Jessica won't be taking too many risks in this semi-final. The job now is to make sure she's in the final, because we know that Teresa Fisarova, her main rival for the World Cup title, is in the final. And look at that, nearly 5 seconds the advantage now for Fox of Australia.
Yeah, I think we're just being given a masterclass on how to paddle this course in C1.
Jess does seem to have found a real groove, a real confidence since the Games. In the women's kayak competition at the Games, so much expectation on Jessica, and while she delivered a great performance to take a bronze medal, she didn't look her vintage self, but she came alive with the women's canoe, taking the Olympic title, and she's not looked back since.
Yeah, she's just continued that form, and I think she's probably relieved to have become Olympic champion in C1.
Wow, what a time, 110.71. Jessica Fox of Australia is putting a marker down. She's making a statement. She wants to win that World Cup title. Well done, Jessica. You are in the final. So we have 2 boats to go in this women's canoe semi-final. We're live from Pau in France. And on course now for Spain, it is Nuria Villarubla, European champion from 2016. Very talented paddler, and 8th in Tokyo. Only her first final last weekend, so hasn't had the season that you'd expect. She was 20th, 21st, and then made the breakthrough in Sao in her home water.
Yeah, I have been a bit surprised actually this season, and Nuria's not been putting down the results that we know she's capable of. So hopefully, you know, after last weekend's final, she's found her groove, and she's looking good on course out here.
Looked very smooth on the run into 11. carried the exit speed well on the cross for 12. So the time she's got to beat to get into the final automatically is 121.79. Well, knowing her caliber, she's very capable of getting inside that time.
Elena Sterklin's nervously watching the results, I can imagine.
Yeah, and of course 4.5 seconds down, that's on Jessica Fox's time. So actually, she's our virtual second place. She's comfortably on track for a final, but she's still got to deliver the bottom section.
Yeah, and she's paddling with confidence out there. She knows this course, and it's coming together a great run.
So Nuria Villarubla of Spain has to be inside 121.79 in order to, and she's going to have to go round. That makes it even harder for 23. Suddenly, she's got work to do to make it into the final. 121.79, that's the critical number that she's got to beat for automatic qualification, and just inside and into the final. Well done, Nuria. She'll be taking a few breaths at the bottom, I think, there.
She will.
So, still Fox leading ahead of Us of Ukraine and Apel of Germany with one boat to go. So essentially it is Elena Sterklin of Germany sitting in 10th place against Martina Satkova of the Czech Republic for the final place in this Women's Canoe World Cup final. You can watch that live 11:30 Central European time today. But let's focus on Martina Satkova, lying 13th overall in the standings, 22nd, then 11th, and then 17th. That's her record in the World Cup so far. But of course, she won the heats. So could this be her first final of the World Cup season this year? Yeah,
we're seeing some fantastic things from Martina in C1. She's also actually very proficient in extreme slalom, so a good all-round paddler as well. Her sister Gabby is also a fantastic C1 paddler for the Czech Republic. So from that family, we've got a lot of canoeing knowledge and expertise.
So she's 6.57 down on the race leader Jessica Fox, but that's still comfortably good enough for a place in the final. But we've seen many times through this semi-final that you can't count your chickens until you actually cross the finish line. Speaking of chickens, you've got chickens, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. I miss them. I've not seen them in a long time, so looking forward to catching up with them back in New Zealand.
Would you like to send a message to your chickens back in New Zealand if they're watching?
I'd like to just say hi to Helen and Debbie. I hope you're doing okay.
So, as we watch Martina Satkova of Slovakia having potentially 2 touches on the final gates of the course, and outside 14th place again. The bottom part of the course has bitten back, and Martina Satkova having been on track to make it through into the final. 2 late touches, and well, bad news for the Czech Republic, but it is good news for Germany's Lena Sterklin, who is our final qualifier.
Yeah, how good to see Lena back in the finals after quite some time.
Yep, and that's her first final of the 2021 season. But the news is definitely Jessica Fox goes through into the final, 7 seconds clear of the field. Viktoria Us of Ukraine in second, Elena Apel of Germany in third. They're joining those top 3 in the final. Miranda Lascano for Spain, Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic. That's crucial. She's the main challenger for the World Cup title to Jessica Fox. Susanna Pancova, the 16-year-old Slovak in her first final. Monika Skocova for Slovakia, Anna Satila of Brazil, Nuria Villarubla of Spain, and then Lena Sterklin of Germany will lead out that final. 11:30 Central European time. You can follow it live here at Planet Canoe. But of course, don't go away, because up next will be the men's canoe semi-final here in Pau in the Pyrenees. So, Luca, any reflections on that semi-final?
I would say that in terms of the World Cup overall, Jessica Fox has definitely laid out a challenge to Teresa Fisarova.
She certainly has, indeed. She has it's a 6-point advantage going into the final race, but yet She is 8.96 quicker in the semi-final, so that is a big message that's been sent. But here are the results. The top 10 here, they go through into the final. But look at that. Jessica Fox wins the semi-final by over 7 seconds. But their 5th place, Teresa Fisarova, the main challenger for that World Cup title, is also in the final. So missing out, well, we've got a few big names there. Marjorie Delassus of France, who was 4th at the Tokyo Games, and in front of her home crowd won't be racing. And Evy Leibfarth of the United States, also a little bit of a surprise, would you say?
Yeah, that is surprising. I think she'll be disappointed. You know, she was 4th at the 2019 Worlds, and we know what she's capable of. And yeah, she just didn't manage to put it down out there today.
Well, of course, that final, 11:30 Central European time. Follow it live at Planet Canoe. But our focus now is on the men's canoe semi-final. Again, 30 boats, the fastest 30 boats from the heats on Friday, are now racing it out for 10 places in the men's canoe final. And they race in reverse order from those heats. So Miguel Trave, the winner of last weekend for Spain, was also the fastest in the heats. 4 world champions in this field, and 2 of the Tokyo medalists, so a competitive field and also a competitive competition for the overall world title. Marko Mirgorodski of Slovakia leading the World Cup standings, but David Florence just 2 points behind of Great Britain. Miguel Trave and Denis Gargaud-Chanou not far behind too, so the job really to contend for the World Cup title is to make it into the final to maximise that advantage of the double points. Well, good to see the crowd swelling here. Beautiful day, no wind, perfect race conditions. And, well, what a time. I'm still reflecting on Jessica Fox's 110 time.
Yeah, and the thing with Jess is she's probably capable of going faster even in the final.
Well, she produced some stunning performances last weekend in Lascano, took 2 gold medals, and was in contention in the extreme slalom, but she didn't do so well in the time trials in the Lascano, so she was always a bit of a disadvantage for the lane choice.
She was, yeah.
I noticed she's made up for that in the time trials yesterday.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the K1 men yesterday, and their goal in the time trial was just to finish ahead of Jess.
Well, of course, the extreme slalom will be up this afternoon, 4:30 Central European time. Head-to-head racing, the new event for the Paris 2024 Games. But we are underway with racing here in the men's canoe semi-finals here at the World Cup final. And James Kettle starts the competition for Great Britain, his first ever World Cup. And he's already through to a personal best into the semi-final. And what can he do? Well, we've just seen 16-year-old Susanna Pancova go into the World Cup final. Will we see anything from this young athlete?
Yeah, and how exciting to be racing your first World Cup. I imagine he's growing up watching the World Cups on television, online, and watching his heroes out there paddling, and now he's here able to compete himself.
So certainly looks like he's delivering the top part of the course. He's kept it clean. It looks very fluid. It looks very relaxed, considering it is his first World Cup semi-final.
Yeah, he's obviously used the experience from the races back home in Great Britain, which are hugely competitive, and brought that race experience out here. Yeah, it's often we see young paddlers in their first World Cups aren't as composed as James is, so he's doing a fantastic job.
Super tight in and out of the upstream gate 16. And certainly paddling with distinction as he comes down through gate 18. This is the critical move, a little bit of over-rotation, now having to work hard to get to 19. But importantly, clean coming into this critical offset sequence. This is where it's so easy to undo all the hard work.
Oh, we can just see another example of how difficult those last few gates are, and how many paddlers are coming into trouble there. A lot of hearts broken in the women's semi-final this morning at the bottom of the course.
Well, James Kettle puts in a respectable run there, 113.87. It includes a 2-second penalty on gate 22. And we're straight into our next competitor, Nelly Polenček of Slovenia, 20-year-old junior world champion of 2019.
And he's a young, exciting paddler to watch. Obviously, he's growing up paddling alongside Benjamin Savchek, which, what a great person to have from your country to paddle alongside every day in training.
And of course, Benjamin Savchek still to come in this men's canoe semi-final. The Olympic champion, the world champion on this course, will be racing. And, well, what a difference the fortunes of Jessica Fox, the Olympic champion in the women's canoe last weekend, who dominated the race last weekend, took the gold medal. Benjamin Savchek, it didn't honour his reputation. And, well, he had a roll, didn't he, on his run. Didn't make it through into the final for the Olympic champion. But I'm sure he'll be out to make up for that today. Yeah,
it was very uncharacteristic, and maybe he's not been training too much after the Olympics, but rather just soaking up the celebrations.
So Nelly Polenček of Slovenia now trailing 5.77 down on James Kettle of Great Britain. 2 touches showing so far. Touches on gate 6 and gate 11. And again, just like Kettle of Great Britain, a little bit low in 19. That's going to be a critical move for the final in terms of really finding the tenths of a second. Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to see a lot of runs won and lost here at the bottom of the course.
So I would actually identify gate 19 and that spin into gate 22 as one of the key moves on the course if you want to take gold.
Absolutely. And in C1 as well, it depends on what side you do that on.
So into second place for Nelly Polenček of Slovenia. So straight up with our next competitor for Great Britain, it is Peter Linkstead, 21-year-old. Last weekend, he was 28th in the SAO World Cup, in his first World Cup as a fully-fledged senior team paddler. So he was selected to the British senior team and will go to his first senior World Championships in Bratislava in less than 2 weeks' time.
It's really impressive given the strength of the C1s in Great Britain for such a young paddler to make the team.
So when you go off early in a semi-final, Luca, how does it feel? You know, do you feel there's less pressure on you, or is it an opportunity to put a marker down and put the pressure on those still to come? Is there any significance in that?
I think the main significance is you don't get to see too many people go down before you. So especially in the K1 women's class, which is the first class, if you're off at the start of the semi-final, you don't have as much information about the course as those people going off at the end. Obviously, this is the first time these paddlers are paddling the course. In slalom, you're not allowed to paddle the race course before the race.
So Peter Linkstead has picked up a penalty on the upstream gate 8, but still in touch.
They have to use a lot of imagery.
Wow, what a brave move on 18 to 19. He was late in 18 and, well, quick thinking there to choose that move, and he's kept his run alive.
Yeah, that was incredible. What a reaction. It's so important to be able to react out there on course when things aren't going your way, to fight for everything.
Yeah, they say the best slalomists are those that can react to the unexpected in the best way. So he's found time despite that error. He found time on the bottom part of the course. Peter Linkstead goes into second place for Great Britain. There is a review underway, and he is showing 2 touches on his run. Robert Hendrick for Ireland now on course. 36th last weekend in Lascaux. He just missed out on the 2019 World Championship final, finishing 11th there. That's his personal best as a career. And, well, I know the Irish spend quite a lot of time in this area, whether it's in Lascaux or in Pau, and he has found time on the top of the course. Nearly 2 seconds.
Yeah, these young Irish paddlers, they're improving a lot and looking really good out on the water.
The big surprise was Liam Gigoux of Ireland, the winner of the World Cup here in Pau last season. Didn't make it through into the semi-final. that's a big disappointment. We were looking forward to seeing him racing here.
Yeah, we were. This is his home course, essentially. He lives here. He knows this water well, so he'll be really disappointed not to make the semi-final. He would have actually been hoping to make the final here, so I think he's gone away to reset and to try and learn from those mistakes and be better at the World Championships. But speaking of mistakes, Robert has made quite a big error out there on course.
Yes, not only that, but he picked up a 2-second penalty on 15, but he's still showing green. He's still showing that he's up on the split, but of course we still have the fastest competitors still to come from the heats. So if he wants a place in the final, it's all about setting a benchmark for others to follow.
He looks like he's gained his composure back, and he'll be hoping to make up some time in this last stagger. And he's done that well.
It's good positioning on 22. Now flicks it round on his crossbow through 23. A little bit late on 24, just having to watch the bow touch there, and coming across the line to go into third place. So a cluster of boats already in around 1:13, 14, 15. Still James Kettle, our early leader for Great Britain, but that may well change, because on course Matej Benoš of Slovakia, 33-year-old Olympic silver medalist from Rio 2016, pretty much super consistent and has won the World Cup title in previous years.
Yeah, I had to look twice, actually. I'm not used to seeing him go off so early in the semi-final. He obviously didn't have a great day of qualification, but yeah, we all know what he is capable of.
So 0.76 up on the top section, and you'd expect Benoš to really find some time in the middle and the bottom section, where the technical demands of this course are at the most. So now into the upstream gate 12. You're right, it's unexpected. He basically didn't qualify through in the first run and then didn't have a great second run, but it was enough to get through. And well, that doesn't matter as long as he gets and does enough in this semi-final to progress through into the final. And here he goes. He's starting to build. 3.4 up on the second split, and he's looking very dangerous as he comes into 18.
Such a tall paddler, such a strong paddler. Often these C1s, they look like they're sitting in their boats, but in fact they're kneeling, which can be very painful actually sometimes.
They're kneeling and they're strapped into the boat just to give maximum ability to keep the boat precise as they go down this course. And Matej Benoš has picked up a 2-second penalty on 19. There's a review on 18, but look at this time. He's going to go into the race lead, 1:04.91. And, well, that's the marker for those to chase. Matej Benoš of Slovakia is our new race leader.
First person who's managed to beat Jessica Fox's time from the semi-final.
Well, in fact, it was this person last weekend who, Sebastian Rossi, was watching Jessica Fox do the women's canoe final with me in the commentary booth, and he then said, she's just gone much faster than me. So Sebastian Rossi of Argentina on course, going for a place in the final.
Such a nice guy, Seb Rossi, and I know he's spent a lot of time in Po. He looks good out here on the water, and he'll be trying to put that experience into play.
Well, 0.83 down on Benoš of Slovakia on the top section. He's keeping it clean. That's the important bit. We would expect Benoš's time, 1:04, to be in contention, around about contention for a place in the final. So we do now have a little bit more of an indicating time as to where people stack up.
Sebastian's another paddler who has to travel quite a lot. Doesn't have a great white water course where he lives in Buenos Aires.
We take it for granted in many places in the world where you've got white water, but it's not that easy, and consistent white water is even harder to find.
Yeah, absolutely, and the teams who have artificial white water courses and programs are very lucky.
So Sebastian trailing by 4 seconds, but still, if he can keep it clean in the bottom section, well and truly able to slot into second place. And a nice spin on 22. He should be able to pivot the boat round on 23, but it looks like he might well have taken a penalty on 23. He has indeed, that's now confirmed. And 1:10.81 into second place, but there is a review going on one of the gates. So we'll have to wait and see. But Benoš still leads for Slovakia, ahead of Rossi of Argentina and Kettle for Great Britain. After 6 boats down in this 30-boat ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup semi-final in the men's canoe event. So on course now, it is Leonard Tuscher of Germany, Junior World Championship bronze medalist in 2017, 4th at the Under-23 European Championships this year. And, well, he's definitely capable of the pace. He was 2nd in the heats in Lascano last weekend, but actually finished 20th in the semi-final. So 24th in the first World Cup of the season, didn't race the second World Cup, then 20th last weekend.
So if this is German selections, then he'll be racing for a spot at the World Championships.
Yeah, so once again, the Germans sort of fielding a development team, using it as a selection race ahead of those World Championships, trying to send the strongest team. It's interesting how all the different nations could, select their teams. Whether that's, some use the international circuit to firm up the team, some do it all in one weekend. The French do, the British do, the Germans do to start their season, don't they? And then there's other countries like yourself, New Zealand, Australia, where you've got the seasons are different, aren't they? So you kind of summer season at home.
Yeah, we often have our selection races quite early in January and February because that's the summer, that's when everyone's back in New Zealand.
So Leonard Tuscher of Germany goes into second place. And still, I can confirm Sebastian Rossi of Argentina still in third place. The review was completed, no additional penalties. Thomas Kirklin of Switzerland now on course. Another competitor based here in Pau. And, well, a regular World Cup finalist. He finished 13th in Tokyo. And he was bronze medalist last year at the World Cup here in Pau.
And he's really lighting up this top section. We can see how well he knows this water, and yeah, he's looking so confident and so strong out there. Such a nice paddler to watch, and I think he would have been disappointed not to make the final in the Tokyo Olympics, but he's back out there. He's always got a smile on his face, and he's doing a great job this morning.
Yeah, and he just slightly brushed the downstream gate 7, which was a little blemish to what was a great top section. It still puts him pretty much level with Matej Benoš of Slovakia, our current race leader. But Benoš was strong in the middle and at the bottom, so Kirklin's going to have to keep building into this run if he wants to challenge for a place in the final, and he's doing that. He's up on the race leader by nearly 3/4 of a second.
He's coming into this critical section, and he'll have done this a million times.
Nicely done. This is one of those kind of standard moves, isn't it? The 18-19 sequence, but it doesn't matter how many times you practice it, you've still got to deliver it under pressure when it matters.
I remember that move was in the World Cup in 2016, actually.
Do you remember that for positive reasons or not so positive?
I remember it because I got pinned on the rock. So not so positive reasons.
Well, we're looking at a new race leader by quite some margin. Thomas Kirklin of Switzerland goes into the lead, 1:02.87, and that includes a 2-second penalty, so it just shows there is still time in this course, and suddenly he makes Matej Benoš look a little bit at risk.
Yeah, I don't know that Benoš's time will be fast enough to make the final, especially with 2 touches, and we know just how strong the field is out there today.
Well, one of those strong paddlers will be one of the home athletes from France. Nicola Guesta is on course, 21-year-old, who was the Under-23 World Champion of 2019 and of this season.
And he is such an exciting young paddler to watch. Just knows how to use the water. He's always moving his boat. So technically proficient.
So it looked like he was a little bit sticky on the downstream gate 6. He took that on forwards, but almost had to do a double stroke to keep himself back on track. But we know already that the race is not necessarily won on the top section. It is all about now building into the run, delivering this more technical, more physically demanding lower section of the course.
We'll be starting to hear the cheers from the French crowd lining the banks this morning.
They're starting to get animated, and it's interesting to see that, well, we don't have a French athlete in the women's canoe final. So it'll be big pressure to make sure we have, well, up to 3 boats in the men's canoe final. Got the Olympic champion, Denis Gagosianou of Rio, still to come for France. And such is the competition for places that the world champion, Cédric Joly, is not in the team for this race.
No, he was doing demo runs for the event, which is quite incredible when you've got the world champion doing demo runs for the race.
Well, another good performance. Nicola Guesta of France goes into 2nd place. It's a clean run, 105.19. And, well, we'll have to wait and see whether it is enough for a place in the final. But surely Thomas Kirklin, Nicola Guesta, Mate Benos are the top 3 at the moment, and the key contenders for places in the final. Next up, the Olympic silver medalist from Tokyo 2020. It is Lukas Rohan of the Czech Republic.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal paddler to watch, actually. He's very good at switching sides. He can paddle C1 on both sides, and it'll be interesting to see if he does that out there today, or whether he just sticks to paddling on his left side.
So didn't race last weekend in La Seu. So clearly still just recovering from the demands of the Tokyo Games, because of course, well, you were there, Luca, it wasn't just the competition itself, but there was nearly a month of a block of training building up to it.
Yeah, the Tokyo Games were mentally just such a huge event. I guess as well, being postponed a year, you know, it was an extra year of thinking about those games and preparing for those games. So yeah, mentally, I think that was the hardest part.
So he had the advantage at the top. He's lost that a little bit, 1.88 down. So Lukas Rohan of the Czech Republic, just still the opportunity, though, to find some time on the bottom section. But Kirklin, our race leader, was so strong on the bottom.
I think that's the best we've seen from the C1 men, 18 to 19. Sorry, 17, 15 to 16. No, I'm confused.
You were right, 18 to 19, but Rohan of the Czech Republic now. 3 gates to go, 2 gates to go, and now coming through, 102.87, time to beat. He's going to be outside of that, and he stops the clock in 3rd place. 105.78. So Thomas Kirklin leads ahead of Nicola Guesta of France and Lukas Rohan of Czech Republic, with 20 boats still to go in this men's canoe semi-final. We're live here in Pau in the south of France. The sun is shining, the stage is set as we look to crown the World Cup champions of 2021 in the women's canoe and the men's canoe event. The final will be live here at Planet Canoe, 11:30 Central European time. But still, lots of action to go in this men's canoe semi-final.
Oh, and he's Hedwig's just slipped his hand on his paddle and lost a bit of time there. It's definitely not what you want to do.
So it is Gregor Hedwig of Poland, 14th in Tokyo, 12th in the Rio Olympic Games, and this season hasn't been a good one in the World Cup for him. 36th, 22nd, 25th.
Yeah, it's surprising actually, because he is such a strong paddler and we've seen some very good results from him in the past. So perhaps it's just one of those years when mentally you're not on form and you really have to go home at the end of the season and just reflect and try and learn from those mistakes.
Well, a good result here will give him a good boost going into the World Championships in less than 2 weeks' time. But the penalties mounting up on this semi-final run, 6 seconds of penalties, and there's no way back from that, surely.
Yeah, no, those penalties are just so costly, and I don't think he's having the run of his life out there this morning.
So it's interesting, he's not really done anything wrong, but just those little touches here and there, and just stalling the boat, and it all starts to add up. So Gregor Hedwig of Poland crosses the finish line, 1:14.01 into 8th place for now, but that will not hold up for a place in the final.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just that fraction of a second of waiting to, you know, get yourself past those skates clean. That makes a big difference.
Next up, Zach Locken, or Bug as most people call him, of the United States of America. He will be buoyed by his performance in Tokyo, 7th in the Olympic final in Tokyo. Two-time under-23 World Championship finalist, and now on course.
Yeah, he's improved so much in the past few years and had a great start to the season in Prague in the final. Like, technically he's improved, physically he's improved, and he just really seems to be enjoying himself out there.
Yeah, and he had a big battle just to get to qualify that Olympic place for the United States. Him between Casey Eichfeldt and himself, and it went down to the wire. I think in Markkleeberg in Germany, and ultimately it was Zach Locken that came out ahead.
Got the ticket to his first Olympic Games, and you know, credit to Casey, he was so supportive of Bug after the race, you know, congratulating him, and even before the races I saw them training together and trying to learn from each other. So it's just a special part of the sport, is that camaraderie even between competitors. Yes,
I would agree. It was one of the highlights actually of that second World Cup, was seeing Casey's response. His dream had just been shattered, but what a sportsman. Came over and congratulated Zach for his performance. And at the moment, Zach is on a good run here. 3 seconds down on race leader Kirklin of Switzerland, but still that puts him in the mix for a place in the final if he can just deliver here. But maybe a little bit more time dropped on the bottom section. 1:09, and now into 5th place. And Locken of the United States. It is a clean run, but perhaps not the fastest on the bottom section. Kirklin leads for Switzerland. And next up for Croatia, Matia Marinich. Another athlete from the Games, 11th in Tokyo. He made the final in the first World Cup of the season in Prague, then was 14th in Markkleeberg in Germany. Didn't race last weekend in Lascaux. And now coming to race here in Pau in the Pyrenees for double points in the World Cup final.
He's having to duck and dive a lot out there, but he's putting together a tidy run, not too far down.
Yeah, 1.17 at the top. Well, that's in touch. But I think that time of Kirklin, 1:02.87, I think Thomas can pretty much get changed, get ready for the final.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job, and I think that time will definitely be in the final.
But we still have some top boats to go, including the world and Olympic champion Benjamin Savsek of Slovenia, double world champion David Florence of Great Britain, who's had a good season so far, lies second in the standings, 2 silver medals from the 3 events so far. And Miguel Trave, who won last weekend and won the heats of this competition.
It's such an exciting semi-final with so many good boats, and you know, so many of which could be in the final, that you know, they're going to have to race hard out there today and just to get their ticket to that top 10.
Yes, and I could keep going, because there's Denis Gargaud-Chanou, the European champion of this year, world champion in 2011, Olympic champion in 2016. There's Alexander Slavkovsky, who you'd never rule out. But let's just watch Matia Marinich of Croatia. It's a good time, 1:05.90 into 4th place. Another clean run. So as we go down through the ranks here, starting to see the performances sharpen up and the clean runs coming in. Well, next up is a World Cup winner, Roberto Collazingardi of Italy. Won the World Cup, I think, in Tarzan in 2019. Certainly very capable of getting through into the final today. But a time, I think, of sort of under 104 is what's going to be required to certainly not have too much of a stressful wait at the bottom of the course.
He's given himself some work to do, though, 3.2 seconds down with a touch, so he'll know that he has to have a near perfect bottom section to make it through to the final.
So into the upstream gate 11. It's a nice line. Now he's got to capitalise on the upstream gate 12 on his onside. A left-handed paddler, but he doesn't manage to do that. He takes a touch and adds to his woes as he comes in under the bridge and into the kind of grandstand section of the course, if we could say that.
Yeah, he's just slipping a bit deep in some of the moves, not holding his position, and that's cost him some time and cost him some penalties. We'll see what he can do in this critical section of the course, which is quite a difficult move as a lefty paddler. But he's done a really good job of that.
Yeah, it's tidy, it's good, but is it too little too late? The damage is done on the top section of the course for Roberto Collazingardi of Italy. 102.87, that's the lead time. But somewhere around 104, I think, is what you need to make it into the final. And he's well outside of that. So it's not going to be today for Collazingardi of Italy. And into ninth place for now. But we still have 16 boats to go in the men's canoe semi-final here at the World Cup final in Pau in France. You're watching live here at Planet Canoe with myself, Andy Maddock, and alongside me, Luca Jones, Olympic and World Championship medalist for the New Zealand team. As we now watch our next competitor on course, which is Rafaela Ivaldi, again of Italy. So Rafi, as they call him, another really fast young paddler, has had some really strong performances at junior level, under 23 level, but not quite got the consistency yet to the senior level. And it's the World Cup Series that really gives these athletes the opportunity to develop their skills as they become, well, I guess as they transition into the senior ranks.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, he'll be looking to make the final today and just get that practice of being in major finals.
So he's in touch. Look at that, 4 100ths on the split. Down on the first run, the leader, Thomas Kirklin.
He's such a strong paddler, Rafi, and he's really propelling that boat and moving it across the water. Had a tough battle earlier this year for the Olympic spot, where the Italians were having to race off against the Germans for that Olympic spot in Tokyo, and unfortunately there was only a fraction of a second in it. Yeah,
there was Germany that took the spot, and then Germany awarded that Sidiris Tassiadis, and he took the bronze medal in the Tokyo Games. He's not racing this weekend, but we still will have Franz Anton, the world champion of 2018, who was second in the heats, so he'll go off later on in this semi-final. But problems at the bottom. It was a good top section for Rafi Ivaldi of Italy, but penalties at the bottom have meant only 10th place. So they're coming thick and fast now in this men's canoe semi-final. Václav Chalupka of the Czech Republic now on course. The 2018 under-23 world champion. 28th, 24th and 11th so far in the World Cup Series. So going in the right direction. Can he now convert that into his first final of the season?
Yeah, and those earlier results are, I'd say, are probably quite disappointing for the level of paddler that he is. But certainly last week was a tight semi-final, and to be 11th is a great result for him.
So he does have that touch on the downstream gate 6, but look, a quick top section. He was absorbed some of that in his split time, just 1 second down, but this is now where we start to get an indication as he comes through gate 15, where he has delivered or not within that 11-12 double upstream sequence. And 3.5 seconds down now. A little bit of work to do on the bottom section, but still not out of the final yet.
Yeah, he looks smooth and in control out there on the water.
So Lukas Rohan of the Czech Republic, the Olympic silver medalist, lying in 3rd place at the moment. And now into this tricky little stagger sequence, 22-23, that's been the undoing of so many of, so many good runs over the course of the weekend, but no problems for Václav Chalupka of the Czech Republic now. Coming down to cross the line, 1:05.31 into third place and ahead of his compatriot Lukas Rohan. So it is still Kirklin leading for Switzerland, ahead of Guesta of France, Chalupka of the Czech Republic. That is our top three, as we're now past the halfway mark of this men's canoe semi-final here at the World Cup final in Pau. And next up, it is Jean-Pierre Boury of Senegal.
It's really tight, second to fifth places. There's really nothing in it. So it just goes to show how important it is just to be fast and clean out there on course. I think touches are going to prove really costly, and we've seen a lot of touches actually on gate 6. Paddler just sliding into that outside pole, but he's done a superb job of that sequence.
So Jean-Pierre was 17th in Tokyo, under 23 World Championship finalist, and he is, well, there's nothing to choose between him and our race leader, Thomas Kirklin of Switzerland at the first split. Jean-Pierre will be very familiar with this course, based in France. Then you'd hope that he's able to convert that local knowledge of the whitewater into a result here. How popular would that be if he can get a final in the World Cup, his first final of this 2021 season?
I think that sort of result for him would be celebrated by all the paddlers. You know, we always like to see other people do well, and when someone makes their first final, yeah, we all celebrate.
Well, he slipped a little bit, 1.62 down, but still very much in contention for a place in the top three, but a touch on the bows on the upstream gate 19. He's got to keep his focus now, because that could well cost him dearly.
Yeah, and hopefully he can stay composed on this bottom section and not lose too much time.
So pivots round on 23, and now coming down, they are looking at gate 22, 110.03 and into 8th place, and the time just slipped away on the bottom section.
Yeah, there's so much time in that bottom section. When the arms are tired, when you're lactic, you just have to, yeah, really try and push.
So another French paddler on course, and it is Jules Bernadette of France, bronze at the 2020 Tartan World Cup last year, finalist in the under-23 Worlds in 2019. And the French will be hoping to have representation in this final. At the moment, Nicola Guesta sitting in second place, so looking fairly well set for a place in the final, but already a penalty showing on the downstream gate 6.
Yeah, I think he can still get through to the final with a penalty if the rest of his run is good. And he's looking smooth out there on the water. We can see that he knows this course really well, that he's paddled here a lot. He looks comfortable.
He does, and that boat looks very, very fast. He's really got the rhythm here on the split, on the second split, 1.91. Well, considering he's got a 2-second penalty, then he's absolutely still in touch with a place in the final. Drops into 18. This is where Jean-Pierre Boury took the penalty of 19. No problem here for Jules Bernadette, as he now comes down to the difficult part of the course. Not so much the technical demands, it's the physical and just the precision required on these last few downstreams.
Yeah, and I'm holding my breath for him. He's on a good run, and he seems to have done a good job of that last sequence. Maybe a little bit of time just before that last gate.
Well, he's going to stop the clock, 1:06.01 into 6th place. So again, time at the bottom, the deficit just extended a little bit from that second split, and it is good enough for 6th place for now, but it's still Thomas Kirklin leading for Switzerland, ahead of Nicola Guesta of France and Václav Chalupka of the Czech Republic, as we get towards the point where we're able to confirm who our finalists are. But on course now, it is Flavio McCosey of Italy, 6th last weekend in the SEO World Cup.
Yeah, what a fantastic result last week in La SEO. Unfortunately, he's got a review on gate 4.
It did look very tight, didn't he? They'll be reviewing that to see whether his whole head was inside the gate. If it isn't, that would be a 50-second penalty. So he won't be focused on that. He'll be focused on delivering the gate still to come. But there is a risk of a 50-second penalty on that gate.
Yeah, when you cut the gates that fine, you never want your fate to be in the hands of the gate judges. But ultimately, you've just got to go out and finish the runoff and hope that you are on the good side.
Well, the 50-second penalty is showing. So unfortunately, at the moment, unless it's taken off, then he's not going to repeat that performance from last weekend. A little bit low in 16 he was, but still, this is a very respectable run. Canoe slalom can be very cruel. It could be millimetres the wrong side of your line that you intended, and it has significant consequences. And there's a penalty on the downstream 21.
Yeah, not the run he would have been wanting.
But he has had the 50-second penalty removed at the top of the course, according to the results that I'm looking at. But we'll have to wait and see. Plus 5.56, you're right. 108.43. So it was a bit of a roller coaster ride there for Flavio McCosey of Italy. Here it is, gate 4, awarded a 50-second penalty, but the review during his run removed it. And well, that's good to see that a thorough process takes place for these athletes to get a fair result. But it was ultimately the 2-second penalty on gate 21 that has just left the door open for others to go in front.
Yeah, and it's great as an athlete. We know that the gate judging process is very accurate and very thorough, and they've got a lot of camera angles. So when a decision is made, it's a fair decision.
So on course now, and Elosegui of Spain, I should say, who is, well, super consistent performer. He's a silver medalist from the 2019 World Championships. 4-time Olympian, just like you, Luca. He's finished 4th on 2 occasions at the Games, and always been in the final, actually, at the Games. 31st in the first World Cup, 20th in the second World Cup, and 14th in the third World Cup. So even in his home course, didn't have the performance that you'd expect.
Yeah, no, he would have been disappointed last week. He was on a really good run until just the last section of the course.
But he's on a good run now, 0.86 down on race leader Kirklin of Switzerland. And he's one of the closest to have been to Kirklin at the second split. So if he can find the time that so many people are struggling to find on the bottom section, then he'll be through to the final for sure.
Yeah, Ander lives in San Sebastian, which isn't too far away from this course in Po, so he'll have spent a lot of time here and know this water well.
So Ander Elosegui of Spain takes a touch on the downstream gate 23. How critical will that be? I think super critical, because the time has slipped away on the bottom. And look at that. He was less than a second down on the second split, and he crosses the line 7 seconds down and in 10th place. So we won't see Ander in the final for sure. But here is the Olympic champion of 2020 for Tokyo, the world champion on this course in 2017. He's the European champion. He's pretty much won the full set of medals. Benjamin Sabsek of Slovenia is on course.
He's deceptively fast. He looks so smooth out there and in control, but he's just making up time in so many places.
So he was 3rd in the first 2 World Cups of the season, but then 29th last weekend. He flipped on the big drop, Niagara at La Seu, and it didn't respect his reputation as the Olympic champion of the sport, but I'm sure he'll come back fighting to get on the podium again this weekend. 0.43 down on the split, but no penalties showing at the moment, although there is a review underway on the downstream gate 2.
Yeah, he looks smooth, he looks in control. Typical Benjamin Sabsek style.
So through 16, 1.56 down on Kirklin of Switzerland, our race leader. But there's so much time that clearly Thomas Kirklin found on the bottom section, and people are just struggling to find it.
Yeah, everyone is losing time on the bottom section relative to Thomas Kirklin, and it just goes to show that, you know, what seemed like quite a flat section of the course in these last few gates is actually very critical to the overall time.
Well, Benjamin Sabsek has found the time for sure. He's going to maybe take the race lead just outside by 6/100ths of a second, but Benjamin Sabsek of Slovenia, the Olympic champion, is into second place and surely will qualify for the final. Thomas Kirklin of Switzerland is our first qualifier for the final. That's 11:30 Central European time. We start with the women's canoe final, then we go straight into the men's canoe final as we watch Jake Cochran of Ireland on course.
Yeah, paddled so well in the qualifications on Friday. He knows this course well. He moved to Pau actually to train out here with some good French paddlers, with some fellow Irish paddlers as well. So he knows this water well and he's using that to his advantage.
And he's using it well at the top, isn't he? He really looks like he's attacking the course, but he looks like he's got the rhythm, and he's only 2/100ths of a second outside our race leader's time. So now it's almost time to just consolidate a little bit and keep focused on the critical lines for this middle section.
Yeah, we know that the toughest part of the course is yet to come, but he's in such a good groove and good rhythm out there.
So
and he's a paddler that I think a lot of people would like to see do well. He puts a lot into the sport. He trains really hard, and yeah, it'd be fantastic to see a final from him today.
Well, 3.73 now, so he's dropped some time in the middle section. And importantly, though, he's still clean. Now he's got to deliver this bottom section, and the elusive time at the bottom, it only takes him to be able to find it, and he can come back into contention for a place in the final. But at the moment, it looks like Benjamin Sabsek of Slovenia will be confirmed as our next qualifier into this afternoon's final.
They can stay clean on these gates and keep the boat speed on.
Jake is putting a great run together here. He's keeping it clean. It's a clean run. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for a place in the final. Just outside 11th place, 109.69, but, well, he could be proud of that.
Yeah, that top section was phenomenal, and we saw it on the first split. He was pretty much on par with Cochran, and he just continues to improve.
So, Thomas Kirklin, race leader, and Benjamin Sabsek, the Olympic champion for Slovenia, are both qualified through into the final. 8 boats still to race, and on course now it is Wojciech Heger of the Czech Republic. Another paddler yet to make a final, but pretty consistent. 15th, 13th, 17th. Yet to make a final this season. Very capable of doing it.
Absolutely, and you can see he's another C1 man who switches sides, which it can be a real advantage sometimes.
0.8, the advantage at the top. And now coming into the upstream gate 11. Nicely done, gives himself space for the exit.
Yeah, he's looking really strong out there on course, really in control.
So he made both finals in the 2 World Cups that were held last season. Of course, last season were interrupted by the pandemic. Thankfully, this season, whilst the pandemic is obviously still very present, it has enabled all the World Cups to proceed as planned. And the World Championships planned in just 2 weeks' time in Bratislava, Slovakia. So 1.83 now. Heger of the Czech Republic still in touch with a place in the final. The time to beat 105.19 for an automatic place in the final. And at the moment it is Nicola Guesta of France sitting in 3rd place, waiting to see if he's done enough to be a French representative in the final. 105 is going to be inside that time comfortably, 104.79. Wojciech Heger goes into the final and into 3rd place. Well done, Wojciech. So Kirklin leads ahead of Sabsek, and then Heger. Still the French have to wait to see if they've done enough. Surely Nicola Guesta will get in the final.
Surely, but there are some very big names still to come.
Speaking of big names, then David Florence is on course for Great Britain. 2-time world champion in this event. He's an Olympic silver medalist in this event in 2008. He celebrated his birthday earlier on this week. I think it was his 39th birthday. I think he's the oldest in the field today. He'll probably kill me if I've got that wrong, but David Florence has been back in the form that we kind of expect from him. 2 silver medals across the series so far, and he's lying in second place in the overall standings. But a blemish on the record really was at the second World Cup of the season, where he finished 21st. David Florence nicely into the upstream gate 12, and he is looking like he's putting a good run together.
Yeah, I mean, David may be getting older, but he's not getting any slower, and he's such an experienced paddler, such a strong paddler, and yeah, he's putting down a really good run out there this morning. Well, he's lost a bit of time in the middle section, but David Florence only needs to go under 105.19 for an automatic place in the final. And we know that there's so much time in the bottom of the course, and he looks like he is putting together a really good run. But a costly touch. Oh, 3 touches in a row, 21, 22, 23, and David Florence. This could be a massive shock, because if he doesn't progress through to the final, which he won't, then he won't be able to contend for the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup title that he was lying so close to. And David Florence, wow, is out. Yeah, I'm shocked, actually. Yeah, I would have definitely put money on David to be in the final and be contending for that overall World Cup standing. So not the consistency that he would have liked, and what the reputation that he has. But let's focus straight in on our next paddler, because it is Marko Mirgorodsky of Slovakia, who is the World Cup leader after the 3 races. And, well, with David Florence going out, he has just basically had a bit of a gift, but his job is still to get in and make sure he is in that final, because if he doesn't get in the final, then the likes of Miguel Trave, Denis Gargaud-Chanou, Mate Bennett will pounce. Absolutely, and we know how tough the course is, and we know how much time is won and lost in the bottom section, and David was an example of that. He looked to be on pace to be making the final, and then just came undone in those last few gates. So yeah, we need to watch all the way to the bottom. Well, the 2-second penalty at the top has cost him a bit of time, but he is fast, and 2.84 now trailing, but still that is good enough for a place in the final. Super consistent, really, Marko has been over the year. 4th place, 5th, and then another 5th last weekend, and another place in the final will pretty much secure him the World Cup title of 2021, given David Florence's exit from this competition. This is where David Florence had the problems, but Marko keeping it cool, not taking any undue risks, and now automatic qualification 105.31 inside that time. Well, he's just outside in 6th place, so he will have to wait, but he is now lying in the, I guess, the first spot, waiting for a qualification place. So that's Václav Chalupka of the Czech Republic is also qualified ahead of Nicola Guesta of France. And Wojciech Heger, Benjamin Savcek, Thomas Kirklin already qualified. But here is another big name, Denis Gargaud-Chanou, the French Olympic champion, world champion, European champion from this season. And, well, the French already have 1 boat in this men's canoe final. Can they get another one in? If there's someone that you'd expect to be in the final, it would be Denis Gargaud-Chanou, but he's picked up an early touch, actually, and so he's got some work to do on the rest of the course. He has. He's absorbed a little bit of that time, but he will want to be in that final. He's lying 4th in the overall standings, and that's significant now that David Florence has not progressed through into the final, because Denis has the opportunity to move up into the top 3 of those standings, maybe even challenge for the overall title. He's lying 11 points behind Marko Mirgorodsky, the series leader at the moment. But the job at the moment is to get into the final, because all that is immaterial if he doesn't manage to make it into the final. 3.3 down, so he's got a bit of work to do on the bottom section. This is exciting stuff. Yeah, it's so exciting. And I think we're all holding our breath to hope that he has a good bottom section, because it's always fantastic to see French paddlers in the final of the World Cup in France. So he's won World Cups here on this course, but this
is important now. Let's have a look. Automatic qualification, 105.43. That's the time to be. He's going to be comfortably inside that. And, well, just inside that. But that's all that matters. Well done, Dunny. You are in the final. 105.13. So Thomas Kirklin still leads for Switzerland, ahead of Benjamin Savsek of Slovenia, Wojciech Heger of the Czech Republic, and then Gogo Chanu, Gaston, Chalupka, and, well, there are qualifiers with 4 boats still to go. And on course, Alexander Slavkovsky of Slovakia, hugely experienced paddler, a World Cup title winner on a couple of occasions. In fact, on 3 occasions, so a very consistent paddler. The World Cup title is a very good example of consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And if there's someone who's super consistent, it is Alex Slavkovsky. Such a smooth paddler, such an experienced paddler, and yeah, a real joy to watch.
Well, he's got the advantage at the top, nearly a second up on the top section, and he is just looking very composed, isn't he? You said it earlier, Luca, that it can be deceptive. The people that don't look like they're trying that hard can be very fast because they're just working the optimum use of the help from the white water.
Absolutely, and he's giving us a masterclass on that. Just so good at using the water, getting speed from the little waves, putting his boat in the right place. Nicely
through 16. He was super tight, but he made it work for him. 1.18 down at the split, but that's absolutely in touch with a place in the final, and very tight in 19, almost too tight.
He almost swept it like a K1 would.
Well, now this is the critical section. He is clearly on track for a place in the final, but he's got to deliver these last few gates. This is where David Florence, who's lying second in the standings for Great Britain, just hit 3 gates in a row and has not made it through to the final, but no problem for Slavkovsky of Slovakia into 3rd place, and well done, Alex. You are in the final.
He looks so comfortable out there, and I don't think that's the best we've seen of him.
3 boats to go, and we still have the World Cup leader sitting, waiting to see if he's done enough for a place in the final. Luka Bozic now goes for Slovenia. Slovenia already have 1 boat in, the Olympic champion Benjamin Savsek in that final, but on course, well, Luka Bozic very capable of making it into the final, a World Championship medalist, and again, pretty consistent, but not so consistent this season.
Yeah, he's not had this season that he probably would have wanted to. 2019, he was really dominant on the podium at so many events. Such an exciting paddler to watch. He's really dynamic, has quite a unique style.
So 34th at the first World Cup. That was what has really hurt him. Since then, he's made the final at the 2nd and the 3rd World Cup, and he finished 4th last weekend in Laseu, so he's definitely been heading in the right direction.
Slovenia had a good day yesterday, actually. 2 medals in the World Cup in K1. Peter Kauser and Ursula Krau, and Eva Turchel on the World Cup overall podium. So just goes to show what a strong nation Slovenia is in the sport.
Yes, and of course Benjamin Savsek won the country's first gold medal in canoe slalom at the Tokyo Games. So Luka Bozic is really, really looking tidy here. And again, just looking very composed. He's not taking any risks, but he's really finding the precise lines.
And it's good to be a left-hand paddler on the bottom of this course.
So now he's going to be comfortably inside the time to get into the final. It may well, yes, it does. Sneaks into the race lead, and how deceptive is that? Luka Bozic of Slovenia, the fastest raw time today, and into 1st place and into the final. So with 2 boats to go, we still have the World Cup Series leader for Slovakia, Marko Mirkorodski, waiting to see if he has done enough.
Nervously waiting, I imagine.
And if he hasn't done enough, then the door's open for the others to come in, because double points up for grabs. And, well, on course, Franz Anton, the world champion of 2018 for Germany. You'd say Franz is a big challenge. You'd expect he would be in the final.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he took a lot of confidence from the medal he won last week in Laseo, he knows he's back on form. He knows what he's capable of.
Yes, because he was 25th, then 16th for the first two World Cups, which is really uncharacteristic for him. But yes, as you say, on the podium last weekend in third place. And that's just what he needed as he runs into the World Championships and this back end of the season. He's got the advantage at the top section. And another paddler who looks like he's not taking any risks, but he is deceptively fast.
Yeah, he's using the water out there, and wow, that was a stunning move.
Well, and interestingly, there has been very few people who actually have been up on the split time on the second split. So, of course, that is compared to Luka Bozic, who wasn't quite as fast as Thomas Kirkland, but Franz Anton very much on track for a place in the final for Germany. Now into 21 through 22. We get this angle. This shows just how offset the gates are. He takes the move on forwards through 22 and 23. And
is that the first we've seen someone go forwards on gate 22?
I think so. So the world champion of 2018 is into fourth place. Whether it was quick enough at the bottom, he'll assess that, but it was certainly quick enough for the final. Well done, Franz. You are in the final. And with one boat still to go, we effectively have the World Cup winner of last weekend and third place in the overall standings, going for a place in the final, but still to be confirmed in the final. Marko Mirgorodski of Slovakia, who is the series leader. All down to this run. Miguel Trave of Spain goes for a place in the final. The winner from last weekend. He was super fast last weekend, under pressure as well in front of his home crowd.
Oh, absolutely. And to perform with so much pressure on your home course is just fantastic. And he's on so much form at the moment. He's looking so good on the water, dynamic, comfortable.
Look at that. 1.73 seconds he's found on the top section alone. This could be a stunning performance, but he has got to negotiate all 24 gates. It's no good having the quickest top section if you can't follow it up with a good bottom and middle.
I think Trave's really establishing himself as one of the top C1 paddlers in the world at the moment. Just his consistency over the last couple of events and the way he's looking out there on the water now.
Wow, 2.35 the advantage. He could be going under 100 seconds here in raw time, and that will put a marker down for the final. Miguel Trave of Spain needs to get inside 105.43. And Marko Mirgorodski of Slovakia, the World Cup Series leader, is under threat. So he's clean through the last gate. Miguel Trave going for a place in the final, and 101.33 into the race lead. Well done, Miguel. You are in the final. But that means that Marko Mirgorodski of Slovakia will not be in the final. So actually in the overall World Cup standings, the top two places, Mirgorodski for Slovakia, Florence for Great Britain, are out. And well, it's now a battle for supremacy on for the World Cup title between Trave of Spain and Gregor Hedwig of France.
Wow, what an exciting semi-final. I wouldn't have picked David Florence to be out of contention.
Well, look at that. That's the result. Those are the top 10 competitors through to the final. And yes, it's all change. And it will be a battle between Gregor Hedwig of France and Miguel Trave of Spain for the World Cup title. As there we see it, David Florence not through into the final, along with Marko Mirgorodski of Slovakia, who's been so consistent and led the World Cup standings into this competition. But that does conclude the semi-finals here in Pau in France. But of course, we will be back live with the finals here in Pau in France. So you join us 11:30 Central European time for the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup final, where we will crown the champions of 2021 in the women's canoe and the men's canoe. From myself, Andy Maddock, and Luca Jones, it's bye for now. We'll see you in 30 minutes.